Over to you, Ms. Aqsa.
Thank you so much, Gohar. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to start with the just give me a second, I can share. Let me share my screen first. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Gohar, for the introduction. And today we are going to start with the meta-analysis, systematic review and meta-analysis. So the outline for the today's session is we are going to learn about the importance of systematic review and meta-analysis. And then we will discuss about the differences between the literature review and systematic review. Then we will learn about the basic definitions of systematic review and meta-analysis and why we do systematic reviews and meta-analysis, needs or uses, and how to perform the analysis. Then we will move towards the conclusion and question section. First of all, the importance of systematic review and meta-analysis. So high quality systematic review and meta-analysis take great care to find all the relevant studies, critically assess each study, synthesizes the findings from individual studies in an unbiased manner, and presents a balanced summary of findings with due consideration of any flaws in the evidences. Systematic reviews and meta-analysis can go long ways to informing the research communities about the future importance, directions, and gaps in the current research portfolio in that particular topic. And the difference between the literature review and systematic review is quite hot topic. When you will listen about the literature review, you will come up with an idea that both of these are the same things, but there is a quite difference between these two points. Systematic review is basically a narrowed down version of the literature review. When you are coming to the literature review, and you're selecting the topic for the literature review, topic may be in scope. The goal of the review may be to place one's own research within the existing body of knowledge or to gather information that supports a particular viewpoint. But when it comes to the systematic review, we have to start with a well-defined research questions to be answered by the reviews. Reviews are conducted with the aim of finding all existing evidences in an unbiased, transparent, and reproducible way. When you are searching for the studies to be included in the literature reviews, search may be ad hoc and based on what the author is already familiar with. Searches are not exhaustive or fully comprehensive. You can add the papers related to your methodology, related to your topic, related to your search area. But when it comes to the systematic review, attempts are made to find all existing and existing published and unpublished literature on the research question. The process is well documented and reported. To select the study in literature, the literature review often lacks clear reasons for why studies were included or excluded from the review. As I already told you that it depends on your own choices. If you're conducting some research about the method about some topic, and you are going to use the methodology, or if you are going to apply the statistical analysis of regression or something, you will add the papers in which the regression is used. You will add the papers which are specifically related to your topic, but although they are not using the regression, you don't have any clear inclusion or exclusion criteria. But when it comes to the systematic review, reasons for including or excluding the studies are explicit and informed by the research question. You have a clear inclusion and exclusion criteria, as because you are dealing with all existing published papers. So you have to define the criteria first, that why you are including these studies and why you are excluding some of those studies. Then the next step is to assessing the quality of the included papers. In the literature review often do not consider the study quality or potential biases in the study. You just use the papers as a reference. Other than that, you are not concerned with the quality of the paper, quality of the journal, or something like that. You just want to take it as a reference. But when it comes to the systematic review, systematically assesses risk of in systematic review, you have to systematically assess the risk of bias of individual studies. And you also have to assess the overall quality of the evidences, including the source of heterogeneity between the study results. like you have to consider the differences between the studies as well, and you have to consider the quality of the papers when you are going to add those papers in your systematic review. Synthesis of existing research. Conclusions are more qualitative and may not be based on the study quality in the literature review, but in the systematic review, but the systematic review is based on the conclusions of the quality of the study, and also provide recommendations for practice or added practice, or to address the knowledge age. So basically, literature review is very much like a jigsaw puzzles. You can arrange a literature review oftentimes based on a topic or theme particularly. But when we go into the systematic review, what constitutes and how it is different from a literature review, a systematic review essentially is ones that on a particular topic that's been systematically identified, appraised, and summarized. Now, moving towards the basic definitions of systematic review and meta-analysis. When it comes to the systematic review, a systematic review is basically a review of the evidences on a clearly formulated questions that uses systematic and explicit methods to identify, select, and critically appraises the relevant primary research, and to extract and analyze the data from the studies that are included in the review. To like perform a systematic review, you have to go through from these 5 steps. First step is to define the research question. You have a clear idea about what type of topic you are going to include in your systematic review, and what will be the thorough question, what will be the basic aim of your study, and you are going to describe a research question. Using that research topic or question, you are going to find all relevant papers. Once you will get all the data about that topic, the next step is to inclusion and exclusion criteria. You have to identify, you have to clarify the inclusion and exclusion criteria. For this, you have to already describe that you are going to add this or that topic, and you are not going to add this or that thing. Let's, for example, if you are doing a research on the prevalence of diabetes in Pakistan, and your topic is now clear that you want to find the papers related to the prevalence of diabetes in Pakistan. Now your inclusion criteria may be about the prevalence of diabetes, like you're concerned with the prevalence of diabetes specifically in Pakistan. So you can add all the papers published inside the Pakistan about the prevalence of diabetes, and you will exclude all those papers about the prevalence of diabetes, but they are not about Pakistan. So this is what inclusion and exclusion criteria in general, basically. Then the next step is to how to search those papers, how you can collect the data, and how you can collect all possible papers related, all possible research publications about your topic. For this, you have to you have to do an electronic search strategy for the database and state process of selecting studies from search results. So we are going to discuss it in the further slides, but for now, I just have to say that you have to search by using different strategies so that you can cover almost every published paper about your topic. Then the next step is when you will come up with the bulk of papers. As you know that there are a lot of publications in these days, and you will get almost thousands of papers related to one specific topic. So the next step is you have to assess the quality of the papers as well, that what are the papers which are up to the mark, and which will be good for your systematic review, and which you are going to add in your paper in your systematic review. So for that purpose, you have to assess, you have to define the method of assessing the risk of bias of included studies, and you have to describe how risk of bias assessment will be used. Once you will assess the quality of the papers and you will further narrow down the papers, the next step is to apply the statistical analysis. This is an overview of the systematic review, that how you systematically select the publications about a specific topic, and then how you will narrow down the papers, assessing their quality using their inclusion and exclusion criteria, and you will come up with the chunk of the papers which will be good enough to added in your systematic review. According to this flow chart, you will clearly see that first step is to search for the papers. Let's suppose you have identified a question. In this example, we are discussing about the HBV, hepatitis B virus. Let's suppose if you are looking for the prevalence of hepatitis B virus, you have to write down the prevalence of hepatitis B virus. Okay. The point is you will get let's suppose you will get 1838 records which are identified for the hepatitis B virus research papers, and you will get 1200 from Medline, 168 from PubMed, 116 from PsycInfo, and 314 from Cochrane Center, and so on. You will get, like, let's say you are going to research that topic by using the different words. Now you are not writing down the hepatitis B virus, you are writing HBV prevalence, and again you will press the enter button and you are getting a lot of papers related to HBV. And let's suppose you are getting to 2917 papers. Then you will collect all those information. Then you are manually searching these topics by writing down the different synonyms or different keywords of the same topic, and you are again searching for the research articles, and you will get 5 papers. Now what you have to do is, first of all, you have to go through from the duplications, as because it might be possible that the research articles uses the both of these keywords, like hepatitis B virus and HBV as well. So you will remove the duplications, and 3278 duplicate articles were identified, and you have to remove all those. Then it comes to, then you will then when you will narrow down the research articles, you will get 1482 articles which are individually related to the hepatitis B virus, and they are not duplicated. Then you will have to screen down the abstracts. You will have to read down the abstracts in detail to see either they have the inclusion and exclusion criteria, either they are up to the mark, either they are eligible to add in your systematic review or not. And on the basis of your inclusion and exclusion criteria, you will include those papers which are up to your inclusion criteria, and you will exclude the rest. Let's suppose you are going to exclude all those papers, and in total you have excluded 579 papers due to some exclusion criteria. You will see that the total papers left are 268. Now the next point is to assess the quality. To assess the quality, you have to assess for the eligibility, and for that you have to read the overall article. You have to thoroughly study the whole article, and you have to check either it is up to the mark or not, either the quality of the paper is up to the mark or not. And for to check the quality, there are a lot of parameters. There are some specific parameters for the systematic review. You have to follow the paper, and you have to extract all those informations, and you are going, you are supposed to give the points according to those parameters, and you will assess the quality. 1 point for the clear demonstration of the topic, 1 point for the clear methodology, and for the clearly described methodology, 1 point is for this and that, and you will add the points, so you will get the quality assessment based on that. Now, the next point is, once you will read the overall article, if there are some articles which are not up to the mark and which are not whose quality is not that much good, you will again exclude those articles. And once you will read overall articles, let's suppose the 148 articles were not up to the mark and they were not eligible according to the quality, then you will exclude those, and the remaining papers are 73. Now you can see that out of thousands of papers, you are come up with only 73 papers which are able to included in your qualitative synthesis or quantitative meta-analysis. So this is how systematic review works. You have to go through from all possible publications about your topic, and then you have to narrow down them according to some criteria, according to your inclusion criteria, according to the assessment of the paper, according to the quality of the paper. And then you only come up with few papers which will be able to added in the systematic review. When you come to the literature review, you don't have to go through from all possible articles, and you don't even have to go through from inclusion criteria, exclusion. You just Google the topic, and if you're reading that article, and if you think that it is related to my research, you are going to give that reference to your paper, to your research. But you don't have to clarify the inclusion criteria, exclusion criteria. You don't have to assess the quality of the paper. You are just using that paper for the reference, that's it. But in systematic review, you have to like go through from all those processes to add that paper in systematic review. So basically what authors do, they write a plan for the review. So for that, they have to give the proper, like they have to identify the question, identify the issue and determine the question. Then they have to write down the plan that how I'm going to review this article, which will be my focus points. Once you will come up with the strategy, then you have to search for the studies. No, it's not about the search of the studies. It's about the research about the studies, that you have to search about the all possible articles from each and every search engine you like have, you know about that. Like you have to shift the selected studies, you have to again search the data, you have to again search the topic by using the synonyms again and again, and make sure that you are selecting all possible literature about your topic. Then next step is to extract the data from the studies. Once you will come up with the limited number of papers which are which are related to your topic, the next step is to extract the data from those studies. So what you have to do is you have to thoroughly read all those articles, and you will have to extract the common qualities, common variables, common discussions in all those papers, and you have to extract the information from all those studies. Then you have to assess the quality of the studies. Again, to assess the quality, you have to like give the there are some criterias according to which you have to give the numbers about according to the quality of the paper. If they are clearly demonstrating the topic, you will give them 1. If they are clearly demonstrating the issue, you will give them another point. If they're clearly demonstrating, like if they're clearly mentioning about their research methodology, and if they're clearly mentioning about the issue and the sample size and everything is in the flow, you will give them the points according to them. The next point is to combine the data. Once you will assess the quality and you will come up with that these are the papers up to the mark and I will going to add them into my systematic review, then you have to combine the data of those papers, and then you will apply the synthesis or meta-analysis. Discuss and conclude overall findings. You have to like find or consider all those papers. The findings of all those papers will be further utilized for the meta-analysis, and you will conclude the overall finding or the combined findings of those papers. So the next is about the meta-analysis. What basically meta-analysis is? Meta-analysis is a quantitative meta-analysis is a quantitative formal epidemiological study design used to systematically assess the results of previous researches to drive conclusion about that body of research. So we went from the literature review to systematic review, and we are coming towards the meta-analysis. Meta-analysis is basically the procedure of using statistical methods to combine the results of different studies in order to come up with a new finding. So the aim is to integrate all those findings, pull the data, and to identify the overall trend. And why meta-analysis is used? The following are the purposes of using meta-analysis: is to establish the statistical significance with studies that have conflicting results, to develop a more correct estimate of the magnitude. Let's suppose you have a lot of studies about some topic, and you are like looking for when you are going to read those articles, you will come up with the more confusion, that one article is saying that this thing is particularly about this thing is particularly affecting this issue, and one is, let's suppose there was an article in which they have discussed about the effect of the Panadol. Now, if you're going to study about the articles, there will be some articles which will be say that Panadol is quite effective for the pain. Some will be say that the Panadol is not effective for the pain. Some will say that Panadol is effective in some scenarios or it is not effective in some other scenarios. When you will read 5 to 7 articles, you will come up with more confusion that what is happening over here. Some are saying this and some are saying this. So to to establish the significance between these results, which of those studies are in the right direction or not, you have to come up with you have to go for the meta-analysis. It will minimize the overall confusion, and it will give you some clear result about the combined effect of all those papers. You have to, meta-analysis is used to develop a more correct estimate of the effect magnitude, to provide a more complex analysis of harm, safety data, and benefits, to examine the subgroups with individual members that are not statistically significant. So, moving towards the reason that why we do systematic review and meta-analysis, we do use systematic reviews and meta-analysis to minimize the impact of bias and errors in the papers. It can help to end up the confusion, as I have already told you in the last slide. Then when it comes to the for several studies, and when it comes to the confusion about those studies, it will help you to minimize those confusions. Highlight where there is a not sufficient evidence. Combining findings from different studies can highlight the new findings, can mitigate the need of further trials, and comprehensive details on any topic regarding the previous studies related to the topic can also be given by using the meta-analysis. Needs or uses of systematic review and meta-analysis. Why we use systematic review, why we need systematic review and meta-analysis. The first point is it can facilitate the rational decision makings. Like it will help you to make a decision based on the several studies. And the next point is to the healthcare providers, research, and policy makers are inundated with the unmanageable amount of information. Like you can see over 20 million citations in PubMed. There are like almost 20 million citations in PubMed, approximately 75 to 100 randomized controlled trials published daily. Usually, it is impossible to consider all relevant individual primary research studies in a decision-making context. So for this purpose, it is a quite useful technique. When you have to like collect several researches about a topic, then you will narrow down those researches to the one decision by using the combined effect. It enables practitioners to keep up the data and practice evidence-based medicines, clearly state objective with predefined eligibility criteria for studies, explicit reproducible methodology. A systematic research that attempts to identify all studies and the assessments of validity of the findings of the included studies, systematic presentation and synthesis of the characteristics and findings of the included studies. So basically, overall systematic review and meta-analysis are conducted to minimize the bias, enhance the statistical powers, and to provide a comprehensive synthesis of existing evidences, enabling researchers, clinicians, and policymakers to make more informed decisions based on the best available evidences. Now moving towards the next step, how to perform a systematic review and a meta-analysis. So basically, first step is to perform the systematic review. And for systematic review, as we have already discussed about the selection of the studies, that what you have to do is you have to identify the all possible papers about your topic. You have to identify all the published articles or unpublished articles, or all the available information about your topic. Once you will identify all possible informations, the next step is to screen those informations or screen those articles and then select according to your criteria. In this example, you can again see that they have searched the articles from the different search libraries, and they come up with a total of 4,730 articles. Then they exclude the duplicates, and then they exclude the papers based on the time period as well. Then it comes to the 3,107 articles about which they have to go through the scanning of their abstracts. Then they remove the articles on some inclusion and exclusion criteria. When it comes to the full text assess for eligibility, there was only 114 articles. Then they again remove the articles while assessing their quality, and they come up with the only 14 papers when it comes to the systematic review. The next step is to perform the meta-analysis. Once you come up with the limited number of papers about which we're going to perform the systematic review, and to perform the meta-analysis, you have to extract the data. There is one point I want to clear here. you can do a systematic review individually. Like if you want to publish a review, you can do a systematic review and publish that article. But you can't do the meta-analysis individually. To perform the meta-analysis, you have to do the systematic review first. Like to perform the meta-analysis, you have to come up with the systematic review. But to like publish an article about the systematic review, you don't have to go for the meta-analysis. You are like searching a topic, you are searching for you have a question, you are going to do the systematic review, you just do the review and publish that article, that's it. But but if you want to publish the meta analysis, you have to do the systematic review first. So once you will do the systematic review, then what you have to do is you have to extract the information from the selected papers. Then you will fit the model and prepare the data for the publication, for the analysis. Then you check the heterogeneity between the papers and then perform the meta-analysis or meta-regression according to the scenarios. Research question. Your research question must come up with these 3 to 4 points in which you have to clearly demonstrate the outcome of the study, intervention, and population. Like the question is clearly demonstrating that we are going to find the prevalence of type 2 diabetes in Japan, and we want to do a systematic review and meta-analysis about this topic. Now, the point is, once you are going to do a systematic review, what you have to do is you have to find all the related papers of type 2 diabetes in Japan. And then you have to further narrow down those papers in which the prevalence is discussed. The prevalence of type 2 diabetes is discussed. Now, you can see that you have to find all possible articles about the prevalence of type 2 diabetes, prevalence of diabetes mellitus, prevalence of like diabetes, and you can say in Japan, and you can even specify the time period as well. So moving towards the searching databases, like it's quite important to select the all possible articles. So once it comes to the all possible articles, you have to go through the all possible research like engines which are available to search your which are available to search the published or unpublished articles. So what you have to do is throughout your research, you will be using several information resources. The following databases will be crucial to your information retrieval processes. These are some databases which are available to like which are available to select like search for the published or unpublished articles, or which are available to search any kind of like literature. So the famous one are PubMed and Medline, and you can also go for the Google Scholar and the other articles available. Before moving towards the manual searching, I will mention one thing here, that you can even do the searching, as because in systematic review, the most difficult task is to search the all relevant papers. So for this, you can also search the all possible papers related to the one topic in one go by doing some settings in PubMed and Medline. Like it's a technical searching, you can go to the PubMed or Medline and you can do some settings, like you can select the specific time period, you can select the specific topic, you can select the specific region, and then there is a technique by which you can like save a lot of time, and you can get all possible outcomes in one go, and even download all those papers at once. Like instead of doing it manually one by one, which is a time consuming procedure, you can do this in a quite smarter way by you can press one button and you will get all the abstracts. Like there will be there are some options, either you want to download the abstract of all those papers, either you want to download the full text of those papers. So it is a quite like time saving procedure. By clicking one button, you will get all the papers downloaded at once, instead of going to the Google Scholar or PubMed and writing down the topic and getting one paper and downloading that paper, then going to the second paper and downloading that paper. It's a quite time saving procedure. And this is a whole like different technique. We will inshallah do a session on this as well, that how to search the related articles from PubMed. Now moving towards the manual searching, there are almost 5 methods to make the manual searching. Searching references from included study reviews, like it's a quite a good procedure. Like if you are reading an article, like for example, we were talking about the prevalence of diabetes in Japan. Let's see, you have found a paper of about the prevalence of diabetes in Japan. obviously he will use the references related to its topic. So what you have to do is you have to go to the references section, and you will further sub search to for the articles given in the reference sections. So references from included studies, reviews, conducting authors and contacting authors and experts, and looking at the related articles, cited articles in PubMed and Google Scholars. Following are the three consecutive methods to increase and refine the yield of manual searching. That how you can increase the number of articles searched by the manual searching, and you can refine the results. Firstly, searching references list of including articles. If you have found 2 to 3 articles, you can search their reference list one by one, and you will have to read all those referenced articles and see if they are related to your topic. You can add them as well. Secondly, performing what is known as citation tracking, in which the reviewers track all the articles that cited each one of the included articles, and this might involve electronic searching of database. Thirdly, similar to the citation tracking, we follow all the related to or similar articles. Like when you are doing the search, you will get the similar articles or related to articles. You will go for that option, and you will find all the related articles, and you will going to search all those related articles. Now, the next point in manual searching is, once each of the above mentioned methods can be performed by 2 to 3 independent reviewers, so that you will make sure that all the possible articles are covered. It might be possible that if one person is searching again and again by using some specific words, there is a lot of chance that the other person is searching the same topic by using some different words or by using some different techniques. So for this purpose, to get the all possible relevant articles, you must have to undergo further scrutiny against the inclusion criteria. After following this same records yield from the electronic database, title, abstract, and full screening. Now we will move towards the extracting of data. Once you will select the all possible data, all possible articles according to your topic, and then you are sure that I have searched all possible articles, and now I have the information of those articles. The next step is how to extract the information from those articles. Once you filtered the papers and you have a set of studies that you will work with, now it's time to extract the data from them for your study. At minimum, following informations are required to extract the qualified studies. Now it's entirely depends on your topics as well, but there are some general information, study characteristics, participants characteristics, and keywords which must be extract from all those data. In general information, you can select the author's year of publication, period of inclusion or of participants, and area of study of all those articles. You must have to extract the information about these variables from all the articles. Study characteristics like response rate, sampling methods, setting, and type of research. Then moving towards the participant characteristics, mean or median age of participants, age range, proportion of male participants, proportion of participants with different risk factors of the example, for example, hypertension, smoking habit, physical inactivity, obesity, alcohol consumption, and family history of diabetes. All of these, all of the data about these variables must be extracted from each and every paper. If there is the missing of information, you can write down that this information is not mentioned in this specific topic, but there will be some common variables which will be discussed by each and every paper. So you are going to extract the information about those variables. Then moving towards the keyword, sample size, number of participants with outcome of interest, or diagnosis criteria for conditions are also used to be added in your extracted information. Now it's time to assess the quality of the papers. For each study, you will need to critically appraise the information contained within it and decide if the study you are considering for your review meets the internal validity criteria. At minimum, you will need to identify the following things. What is the theory and hypothesis this research is about? Either this is clearly described in the research about the hypothesis of the research or not. Is the sample size is adequate for the research question? Is the study is underpowered? For example, if you're going to publish some article about the Punjab and you're going to take a sample of 200 or 300 people, Is this adequate sample size for the overall area? Obviously, it's not. So you have to see either it has an adequate sample size or not. Is the study is underpowered or not? Or to what extent did the author eliminates the biases in this study? Even if it is an randomized control trial, was there blinding? How confident are you that the authors conducted an appropriate randomized procedure? What is the likelihood that the groups that were compared was very different with respect to the prediction? If this is an randomized control trial, did the author conduct an intentions to treat the analysis? Like, for example, you are very well aware of this point, then when you are doing this statistical analysis, you are supposed to be like as unbiased as possible, because you just can't be biased about your research. You have to be unbiased and you just have to like quote the results as it is. So it's all about that did the author eliminate the biases with every aspect or not. The next point is, if this is an observational study, how did the author eliminate the risk of selection bias? How much was the risk of information bias from the participants eliminated? What confounding variables were controlled for? Are these confounding variables sufficient? This will require that you will have to know something about the biology of the relationship. If you are not confident, ask someone about that specific topic. A great way of assessing the quality of each article, rather the outcomes within an article, is to use the grade. Like grade stands for the grading recommendations, assessment, development, evaluation criteria. And use the Grade Pro software to judge the quality of the outcome intervention pairing. The results of the quality assessments will be the results of the outcome assessment will be used for descriptive purposes to provide an evaluation of overall quality of the included studies and to provide a transparent method for recommendations for the designer of any further studies. That you have to include these things in your paper for a better quality of the paper. Now the next step is to check the data. Once you extract all the information, once you assess the quality, the next point is to check the data. After extracting the data in the sheet and assessing the quality of the papers, the next step is to check the data thoroughly and cross-check the results of each and every paper. As you have the bulk of information, there are a lot of chances of like errors. So in this case, you have to do a thorough checking, and in case of any confused result and missing values, you have to recheck the paper and mark the changes. If either the missing value is due to the missing in the articles, or due to the unavailability of the data, due to the expected human error and bias, a data checking step is recommended in which every included article is compared with its counterpart in an extraction sheet by evidence photos to detect mistakes in the data. Assessing articles to assigning articles to 2 to 3 independent reviewers. Ideally, note the one who already performed the extraction of those articles is recommended for the better results. Like if the person who is already extracting the information will going to become a more like a bit relaxed that I have already read those papers, and there might be a chance of error. So if the third person is coming to extract the information, he will obviously go through from all the papers again and again, and if there will be any mistake, he will correct those mistakes. When resources are limited and you don't have a lot of persons to do the search, what you have to do is each reviewer is assigned a different article than the one he extracted in the previous stage, so that you can eliminate as much as possible the errors in the studies. How to conduct the statistical analysis? Before moving on the data analysis, few points are must be observed. It is important to be familiar with the type of data. Either it is dichotomous or continuous, that result from measurement of an outcome in an individual study, and to choose suitable effect measures for comparing the intervention groups. Most meta-analysis methods are variations on a weighted average of the effect estimates from the different studies. Studies with no event contributes no information about the risk ratios or odd ratios. For rare events, the Pareto methods has been observed to be less biased and more powerful than the other methods. Many judgments are required in the process of preparing a meta-analysis. Sensitivity analysis should be used to examine whether overall findings are robust to potentially influential decisions. Now, there is a point that if you are going to do, if your data is continuous, then you are supposed to apply the meta regression. And if your data is dichotomous, then you will move towards the subgroups to apply the regression. The commonly used methods for meta-analysis follows the following basic principles. And and this is typically a two-stage procedure. First stage is a summary statistics is calculated for each study to describe the observed interventions effect in the same way for every study. In the second stage, a summary, like a combined summary of a combined intervention effect estimate is calculated as a weighted average of the intervention effects estimates in an individual studies. Now we are moving towards the models, fixed effect model and random effect models. When you are talking about the random effect models, as the name depicts, random effect models considered both within and between study variability. How much random the studies are from one another, and assume that the studies included in the meta-analysis are random sample from all possible studies. Generally, random effect model is preferred for the meta-analysis. In fixed effect model, in fixed effect model, what it only considers within the study variability, which assumes that the studies use identical methods, patients, and the measurement levels. Like you are supposed to use the specific things which are fixed, and you are going to see all articles have the same sample size, all articles have the same area of study, all articles have used the same like test to identify some disease or not. So this is how fixed effect model works. Now moving towards the forest plot. I know that when you hear the word forest, an image like this will comes to your mind, but when it comes to the meta-analysis, the forest plot actually means this plot, this graph, which is shown on your screens. And in meta-analysis, forest plots are used to display the results of multiple studies on the same topic. It provides a clear summary of the individual studies, estimate the overall combined effect. As you can see on the screen, that there are the first column is representing the overall studies included in your meta-analysis. Like in the last example, there were 14 articles selected for the systematic review and meta-analysis. It means that you have to read all those 14 articles, and there will be 14 rows in this column. Then moving towards the next two columns, there is an events and totals, like total number of sample size and the affected number of samples. Like if there were 1183 persons in the article and 156 diagnosed with the diabetes. So this is how it works, that these are the diagnosed persons and these are the total number of persons included in the study. Then moving towards this point, which is the most important point of your forest plot and your findings, this dotted line, this vertical dotted line is representing the average prevalence of all the diabetic cases in those papers. And I hope this pointer is visible to you. If you are looking for this particular picture, this horizontal line is showing the confidence interval. It is showing the 95% confidence interval, and the box is representing the point estimate. Like 13.19% prevalence, there was 13.19% prevalence in the sides paper. So it is like visible that this point estimate is 13.19, which is almost approximately related to the overall average. So the box is representing the point estimator and the line is representing the confidence interval, which is also mentioned here in the next columns. So these this specific study is representing that their average prevalence from the overall studies is quite different from as compared to the others ones, which are like nearly close to the average prevalence. Now, this is the weighting column. This represents how much weightage of each and every paper and the overall analysis. And you can see that almost 16.7% weightage is included by all those papers, and there was 100% weightage of all those studies in total. Now, moving towards this specific row, it is representing the overall effect. Random effect model It is a random effect model, and you have total 7,071 participants, and the overall prevalence according to the papers which were published from 2015 to 2017, the overall prevalence of diabetes in Afghanistan is 12.31%. And the confidence interval is given here as well, which is 95% confidence interval. And you can see this horizontal line, which is representing the or every scale of the average prevalence. And you can see the average prevalence is in between 10 to 15. This diamond is particularly showing the combined prevalence of all those articles. And these edges are showing the 95% confidence interval. And this center point is representing the overall combined average, which is 12.31. Now, moving towards the next point, this is the heterogeneity test, which is performed. Sorry, one point is, I think it's necessary to mention here, is that if you have the lower sample size, your bigger the study, larger the line will be. This line, confidence interval line, and line shows that 95% confidence interval. Basically, it allows us to compare the studies. So the smaller the line is, it means that there is a smaller sample size in the study. And now moving towards this row, there is a term heterogeneity. And heterogeneity is representing. So when you are going to do the systematic review or meta-analysis, these are also designed to ask one question: if these studies are all testing the same intervention, why don't they get the same result? The reasons are like a lot. The reasons are quite clear, that there might be the change in the location, there might be the change in the behavior of the persons from which the information is collected, and there are a lot of reasons why there is an heterogeneity. Ideally, the heterogeneity must be like 50% or something below that line. 96% is quite high. But the point is, when you are collecting the information, like for example, if you're doing the research in Pakistan, you will get this number quite higher, because the study quality is not that much good, or the study procedures are also not too much refined in the Asian countries. Otherwise, if your articles are quite high, higher in quality, and they have a lot of good methodologies to collect the information, they're quite you may say good in a way, you will get lesser heterogeneity. For me, I think the heterogeneity is also high because of the differences between the several variables, which are the area, the place. For example, if you're talking about Afghanistan, you're also talking about the different provinces. So there is a lot of change in the population of different provinces, the prevalences, and the risk factors of the disease in the different provinces. So it must be lower ideally, but if it's higher, it is due to some specific reasons, and you have to say that these are because of the difference between the areas, difference between the different variables. Now moving towards the next analysis, which is pooled and subgroup analysis. In this table, you can see the variables which are discussed in almost each and every paper, and you are going to write down the number of papers in which these variables are discussed. Then you are going to write down the samples, like the total samples and the total cases on those papers. Prevalence, I-square, 95% prediction interval, P heterogeneity, P age or value, P differences, all of these values are calculated for the variables which are common in maximum of the papers. Like you can see, the time period is from 1995 to 2019, and there were only 3 articles published in 1995 to 2000. And you can see that the diabetes, pre-diabetes is also mentioned in almost 17 studies out of total, and the total sample size is 56,452. So this is the individual diagnosis and the subgroup diagnosis of overall papers. Now moving towards the next slide, which is about the meta-regression. You have to perform the univariate meta-regression to see which are the significant factors for the prevalence of diabetes. And you can see that the first 3 variables are significant, which is date of the data collection, year of publication, and age. Now, like date of data collection is why this is significant. It means that with the passage of time, the prevalence of diabetes is increasing, and with the passage of time, the publication of papers increased about which are discussing about the prevalence of diabetes. And with the passage of age, the risk of diabetes is also increased. So this is the individual diagnosis that you are going to perform the meta and regression about the common variables discussed in all the papers. Now I'm going to conclude my video with the conclude the session with the points that systematic review, meta-analysis, research strategies, and meta-regression. To perform the meta-analysis, these are some softwares, comprehensive meta-analysis. This is paid, I think, Stata, R, MS Excel, and etc. R is the most feasible software to perform the meta-analysis. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Aqsa, for explaining it beautifully. And we'll quickly move towards the polling. I'll launch the polling, and meanwhile, participants are requested to poll, and they can type their comments and questions in the chat box. We have a question about how to critically analyze and synthesize existing knowledge.
As I already mentioned in the systematic review, that you have to go through the existing knowledge about the already published papers. Now you have to go through from the abstract, you have to go through from the overall article, and you have to identify all the points. Let's suppose, as I have already talked about the prevalence of diabetes in Pakistan, you have to critically study the paper. Either they have discussed about the problems, either they have discussed about the sample size, either they have clearly mentioned the results, either they have clearly defined the testing strategy. Either they are just depending on the person, like they ask someone about either you have diabetes or not, and they are saying that yes, I am diabetic, or they are performing the test. So this is how you can critically analyze the paper.
Thank you. Next, we have Dr. Shamul Haq, who is saying that, is there any way where we can combine different model-based studies in meta-analysis, or should the studies for meta-analysis must match with respect to experimental model?
No, you can definitely combine the different studies, but you have the same topic. Just give me a minute. I have to see the question again. Is there any way you can combine? Yes, you can combine the different model-based studies, but your topic will be the same. Like if you have, for example, if you're finding the prevalence, you have to find the prevalence in every article. You have to have the similar results about the prevalence. It's not like that you are combining the prevalence, incidence, risk ratio, and odds ratio in one meta-analysis. It's not feasible.
Thank you. Next, we have a question from Dr. Amer Chuktai. Can we conduct meta-analysis with SPSS?
I don't think so. You have to go for the Stata for the more precise results. SPSS is not suitable for this.
Thank you. Ms. Shaista Ali asked that, do we need to mention of expulsion and inclusion criteria in review too?
Yes, you have to. Because this is the main discrimination between the literature review and systematic review.
Thank you so much. Next, we have comments from Mohammad Zubair Yusuf. Thank you for such a nice bunch of information. And Hafiz Rukhsar says, good presentation and narration, fruitful discussion. Hassan Ali from Sakkar IBA University says, thank you for such a valuable information. Great presentation, very informative, well organized and clear presentation. Thank you, Ms. Aqsa Sarwar and CLT Dr. Mir. And that's pretty much it, I guess. Dr. Sana, do you want to comment on anything?
I want to add one thing. The questions you have asked on the prior surveys, I'm hopeful that these questions are cleared now, which were asked to you in the last session.
Yeah, the pre-webinar.
Yes, pre-webinar.
All right, that's great, ma'am.
I think it was a very interesting, but a very, a very informative and a dense session. Thank you so much, Aqsa, for walking us through it. I'm sure lots of people, there were not many questions, but I do see that they are, most are saying, well organized, clear, informative, great presentations. Thank you for valuable, great presentation and narration. I think ode to you. And one question, Shaista Ali, did we talk about it? Exclusion and inclusion criteria?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Yes.
Okay. So we have done all the questions, but there's lots of compliments to your presentation, Aqsa. Well deserved. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
To all the
Bye-bye.
participants, we'll quickly move towards the next session, and you were requested to join there as well. For those who have registered, and for those who want to join, they can join the link. Thank you.
There's a very interesting question. Is meta-analysis only for medical science? I think it can be done for
No.
everything.
No, it's not only for the medical science. You can do it for the life sciences and for the social sciences as well. You just
Yeah.
have to define the topic. Like, for example, there are a lot of systematic reviews and meta-analysis about the life sciences, like exercise and air pollution exposure, a systematic review and meta-analysis. Then there is an ecosystem services research in mountainous regions, a systematic review and meta-analysis. So you can perform this analysis on the different studies. It's not limited to the mathematics.
Thank you so much, Aqsa. We have to move
You're
to the
welcome.
next session by Sharoon. And I think we are already running over time. Thank you so
Yes,
much once again.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. You're welcome.
You.